In the heart of the Ashanti kingdom, under a moonless sky, King Osei Kofi buried the tiny body of his newborn son at the edge of the sacred grove. The earth swallowed the child's bones like a secret. His first wife, Amma, slept soundly in their palace, unaware her husband had smothered the boy moments after his birth. The ancestors demanded blood to keep his throne, and Osei would pay again and again. The village of Bekwe thrived under Osei's rule. His warriors guarded the trade routes. His gold filled the royal coffers, and the elders praised his wisdom. But whispers followed him. His first two sons had died in the womb, their mothers weeping into empty cradles. When Amma, his gentle-spirited wife, finally carried a child to term, Osei had hoped for a daughter. A son was a threat, a boy who would one day inherit his stool, his power, his everything. That night, he visited Okamfo Yah, the fetish priest whose hut reeked of dried herbs and animal blood. The priest's voice crackled like fire. The ancestors are restless. They demand a son. Osei clenched his fists. I have no sons. Yah's eyes gleamed. You will, and you will give them to the earth. Your reign will outlive you. Amma named the dead child Kwame, though he had no grave. She grieved silently, her tears watering the palace gardens. Osei avoided her eyes. When the elders urged him to take a second wife, a king must have heirs. He chose Ajoa, a sharp-tongued trader's daughter from Kamasi. She wore her ambition like gold beads, boasting she'd bear him a son, strong as the Ofin River. Osei smiled. He knew how to silence strength. Ajoa's pregnancy brought celebration. Drummers danced in the square, and villagers gifted her palm wine and kent cloth. But Amma noticed the king's absences. She saw him slip into the grove at night, his hands stained with ash. One evening, she followed him, her bare feet silent on the dirt path. She watched as he dug a shallow hole beneath an ancient mahogany tree, murmuring to shadows. When he left, she crept forward and scraped the soil with her fingers. A small bone, no longer than a thumb, lay in the dirt. Ajoa's labor began during a thunderstorm. The midwife cooed, a son, but the child did not cry. Osei cradled the stillborn boy, his face a mask of sorrow. The ancestors are cruel, he said, as Ajoa wailed into her pillows. That night, he buried the child beside Kwame. The king's hidden bones had warned him. 2 sons, 2 sacrifices. Your power grows. But Ajoa did not weep like Amma. She stared at the palace walls, her eyes hard as stone. Something is wrong here, she told Amma the next morning. My mother birthed 6 children. None died. Amma said nothing, clutching the tiny bone she'd hidden in her waistband. The village turned uneasy. Crops wilted. Goats gave birth to calves with 2 heads. Elders muttered that the king's stool had lost its craw, its soul. Osei doubled the sacrifices, slaughtering rams and pouring libations, but the earth stayed barren. Okamfo Yah hissed, the ancestors want more. A 3rd son. Osei roared, I have no more sons. You will, Yah said, nodding toward Ajoa, whose belly had begun to swell again. Ajoa hid her pregnancy this time. She ate bitter herbs, drank potions from a wandering Odinsini healer, and tied charms around her waist. When the pains came, she fled to a birthing hut deep in the forest, far from the king. But Osei found her. He'd followed the scent of crushed lemongrass she'd used to mask her trail. Give me the child, he demanded, a dagger in his hand. Ajoa clutched her screaming son to her chest. You will not take him. Amma arrived then, her voice shaking. I know what you've done. She held out the tiny bone, now strung on a cord. You killed our sons. For this." She gestured to his golden stool. Its surface cracked and dull. Osei lunged, but Ajoa threw a clay pot of ground pepper into his eyes. As he stumbled, the women fled to the village, the newborn's cries piercing the night. The elders gathered at dawn. Amma spilled the bones at their feet, Kwame's, Ajoa's firstborn, and others Osei had stolen from wives long gone. The village erupted. He fed his sons to the dirt. Osei, cornered in the sacred grove, snarled at Okamfo-Ya. "You promised me power." The priest smiled. "The ancestors keep their promises. Your reign will outlive you as a warning." The king's stool was burned. His palace became a shelter for orphan children. Ajoa raised her son in the trader's compound, far from the grove. Amma tended the gardens, planting yams where the mahogany tree once stood. Years later, when boys from Bekway played near the forest, their mothers called. "Beware the greedy king who buried his sons. His bones are still hungry." Where the sacred grove had rotted away, the wind whistled through Osei's ribcage, a hollow king.